We want to clean in the paint. We're going to call hand checking and body checking, and sportsmanship is an absolute must. Okay.
He lets it fly. Oh, I can't believe it.
Welcome back to Two Shots in the Ball podcast. I am your co-host, Coach Mike McAndrews, along with my brother, the official Jim McAndrews. Jim, episode 7, can you believe it? We got to 7, and we keep moving along here.
Ooh, so far, so good. So far, so good. Thank you.
Today, we've got a really special guest for us personally. Today, we're joined by someone that is very special to the McAndrews family. He's a lifelong educator who spent his entire career at Notre Dame Prep, where he's currently the assistant principal at Notre Dame Lower School. He has spent 20 years as a high school football coach at Bloomfield Hills, where he has helped develop multiple college football players over the last 2 decades. He's a proud graduate of Carter Mooney Catholic High School in 1993, where he helped lead the football team to the first winning season in school history and the basketball team to the first Catholic League championship in school history. 1 year ago, in July of 2024, he was diagnosed with a rare form of cancer, and he has spent the last year fighting this terrible disease and becoming an inspiration of faith and hope to hundreds of people. This will easily, for me, be my favorite guest we ever have on this podcast, Jim. We are excited to be joined by my hero and my best friend of over 35 years, Bobby Patterson. Bobby, thanks for taking the time and joining us today.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Bobby.
I appreciate it.
You bet, Bob.
Thanks,
good seeing
Coach.
you, man. You bet.
Good seeing you. No pressure here. I'm just following the legend of Michigan, son of Swami, Nick McCabe.
Yeah. Yeah, like your
Big
brother.
shoes to fill
Yeah,
here
like
now.
your brother says, you don't ever want
Right.
to follow the legend. You want to follow
Follow
the
the
guy that
legend.
follow the legend.
No pressure. No pressure. That's good.
So-
Thanks for having me, guys. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
So for our viewers and listeners, Bobby, take us through your professional journey a little bit of what drew you into wanting to spend your life as an educator and as a coach.
Yeah, so I started off right after Cardinal Mooney when I graduated. I started off at Ferris State University. Actually, I went there for 2 years. In the meantime, while I was going to school during the summer, when I was 15 years old, I started in the summers working at the Fraser Parks and Recreation, and I started coaching youth baseball, and I was working the Parks and Rec program. So I was at Ferris, and I was taking general ed courses and really not sure what I really wanted to get into at the time. And it really took me to about the second year at Ferris that I decided I wanted to go into education. I have an older sister. I have an older brother that are both in education. My brother's a speech pathologist. My sister is she taught in elementary, taught 2nd and 3rd grade. For multiple years. She actually just retired. So, I'm sitting there, I can remember to this day in my dorm room at Ferris, and I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I love working with kids. I love working with, elementary age kids. I've been doing it all summer. I want to go into education. I want to go into coaching. I love coaching and love working with kids. So that next day I got up and I went and saw a counselor at Ferris, and we talked, and they did not offer elementary ed. I wanted to go into elementary ed. They only offered at that time, special ed and secondary ed. So I said, I'm out of here then. I want elementary ed. At the time, I knew Eastern Michigan University had a fantastic ed program, one of the best in the country, let alone the state. I knew some people that were in their ed department at Eastern. So I got on the horn with that right away. I wrote up a letter to Eastern. I was accepted in the ed program that spring. I sent the letter in the winter. I was accepted that spring. I contacted some people, and away we went to Eastern Michigan University with the ed program, and went through that program. To this day, I graduated in '99 through the education department, and it's one of the greatest days of my life when I walked across that stage with that ed degree. And it was awesome. And went forth, did my student teaching, did a lot of hours. I substitute taught my last 2 years at Eastern and Ann Arbor. for 2 days out of the week. So after graduation, I did a lot of substitute teaching, put a lot of time in a lot of districts and stuff. And there was an opening at Notre Dame Prep. They were opening a lower school. They had a high school and a middle school at the time. It was going to be brand new. And I went in for the interview, sat down with Diana Atkins, Sandy Favreau. The interview lasted probably less than an hour. I walked out. I thought the interview went great. Got a phone call probably 2 days later. Wanted to know if I wanted to be a third grade teacher at Notre Dame Prep. I happily accepted, and I was there. I haven't looked back from Notre Dame Prep. I've been there 22 years. I taught third grade for over 20 years. Then there was an assistant principal position that opened up as well there. And I kind of was like, no way am I going into admin life. And then the secretary at the time at Notre Dame Prep, she sent me an email that I'll never forget. I still have it saved. I look back on it from time to time, that she persuaded me and said, in more words than one, that you'd be a fantastic. I think you'd be great for this position. I want you to go for it. Thought about it, talked it over with the family, and the next day I put in for it. I interviewed for that, and I got the assistant principal position at the lower school at Notre Dame. I was doing both ends. I was teaching in the classroom and admin for a while, for almost 15 years, maybe, if not longer. Our enrollment was skyrocketing at the time, and it came down to I think it's time to leave the classroom and to be full-time admin, which I was thankful for, because it was getting to be a lot, and I was working both ends, because a lot of people are like, how do you do both? I'm like, well, I get pulled a lot. I have a lot of help from a lot of colleagues.
Kids can't read,
So
but yeah.
it worked out
Yeah.
great. Right. Come on, they're pulling me from the classroom. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
So last year was my first year full time with being the admin. It worked out great. I loved it. It was great. And then I'm learning. I'm still learning, and every day I'm learning, and I'm surrounded by a great group of people that I work with, which is fabulous.
Awesome.
So talk a little bit, Bob, about also your journey in high school football and coaching high school football, and what that's meant to you.
Obviously, I want to get into coaching at some point, and everybody's bugging me, at the time. I was like, get into coaching. You got to get into coaching. I was like, all right, So I talked to some people at Notre Dame Prep. I started there. I coached JV for a year, and then my brother and my dad and Dan Loria were at Bloomfield Hills Lasser. And they were like, why don't you come over with us? Why don't you come coach with us? And I'm like hesitant, I don't, okay. So I got a phone call from Dan Loria. He said, hey, I'd love to have you on staff. I'd love to have you. I need a receivers coach. I was like, okay, I'm coaching with my dad and my brother, and the distance wasn't far from Notre Dame Prep, and they were fine with it as well at Notre Dame Prep. They still give it to me from time to time that I still coach over there. But I ended up doing it and loved it, coaching the wide receivers. At the time, it was Bloomfield Hills Lasser. My very first year was, I believe, 2008 that I started. We went to the state semis for Division III. One of the greatest experiences of my life. Remembering going to that Final Four for that division, and I could tell you that whole week of practice leading up to the game, to the end. We came up short. We lost to Inkster, Devin Gardner. Remember him? University of Michigan.
Yeah.
He was a quarterback at the time. He was a junior at the time. Heck of an athlete. He was tough to handle, but that year was phenomenal to go to the semis, and not only to do that, but I was fortunate enough to coach with my dad and my brother at that time. So when you look back on it, you're like, win or lose, not a lot of people have the opportunity to say that they got to coach with their brother and their dad, and to go through some fun experiences, a lot of great experiences. Lasser combined, it became Bloomfield Hills High. I stayed with it. I still been doing it. I'm there right now this year. I decided to do it. I had a great email. They have a new head coach here, Scott Merchant. He's a well-known coach here in the state of Michigan. He's won a state championship with Chippewa Valley. He reached out to me. He reached out to me in the winter, and I wasn't sure if I was going to keep doing it, with everything else going on. And he sent a very nice email. I said, I'd love to have you. The kids would love to have you around. And if you're still interested, let's talk. And we set up a meeting. We talked. It was great. And I stayed with it. And the reason why I stayed with it is because I didn't want to look back and say, woulda, shoulda, coulda. Here we are in the summer, and 7-on-7s are starting, small workouts are starting, and I've been involved with that right now, and it's been good, and I'm glad I committed to it, and I'm excited for the season.
Awesome, Bob.
Awesome.
You're hearing your professional development makes me feel good, and those guys are lucky to have you, really. I'm going to take you back to a little bit of high school, but I want to stick with what you said when you got hired at Notre Dame, which used to be Oakland Catholic. So it's kind of nostalgic how that come around. We used to put a whooping on them guys when we were at Mooney together, and we were playing out at that place. I couldn't help but go there.
No, I remember just being in the gym. You see those memories. You're like, oh yeah.
Yes,
when we talk about Oakland Catholic,
Catholic.
Like, I'm a Mooney,
right.
Mooney guy.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So back at Mooney, you played in 3 sports: football, basketball, baseball. And I was fortunate the opportunity to coach you in basketball. And your work ethic, I'm telling you, especially at a young age, was really, really impressive. It was contagious for me and for those other players. So how did your high school athletics experience help shape, the person you are today?
Well, so I'm going to start, I'm going to stem it all the way back to my parents. I probably could say the same thing for you guys, your mom and dad, that taught us discipline, working hard in the classroom, respecting your teachers, respecting your coaches, getting your schoolwork done, and then the sports aspect. It all ties together where, you're surrounded by all these coaches, and you respect your coaches, and you listen to your coaches, and you got to work hard for your coaches. Things don't come easy. I'm not the biggest guy. I got speed, but I'm not the fastest. But there's one thing you're going to get out of me is you're going to get 110% from me. I had great coaches at Cardinal Mooney. One right here, specifically. All the way through down the line. To this day, and I've said this before, and every time I'm at a Mooney outing or whatever, there's not a day that goes by that I don't think of Cardinal Mooney, whatever it is. And a lot has to do with athletics and the coaches I had. The coaches instilled in me what my parents taught me, discipline, hard work, how to be a winner, how to take on losing. It's life, right? You got to take that on. So, the coaches that I had they're people I look up to. Coach, to this day, I hold in my back pocket things that you've taught me, whether you know it or not. At the banquet, Mike and I talk about this all the time. You looked over at me senior year, and you call the players up and you talk about them. There's 3 words that you said to me that I hold on to, to this day, and that I use. And it was just work, work, work. And then you brought me up. I think about that. That's what life's about. It's about working. It's about working hard, to be a good person, to be a good father, to be a good son, to be a good friend, to be a good coach. It's working hard, and it's what I want to instill in my kids and my family. And that's what all the Mooney coaches did for me, man. I loved them all. They were great. Great.
That's amazing. And I think about you and that class a lot. And I'll never forget first time getting to Callahan and Cardinal Mooney's history. and Bobby Patterson announced in the starting lineup, and how proud I was of you and the work you put in. I still think about that too, and that still drives me to this day. Bobby can do it, and
Yes.
other stuff you're going through. But I remember that specifically. Bobby Patterson announced a Callahan in the starting lineup. It was awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And
you.
from my perspective as a teammate of Bobby, right, in 2.5 sports, because I saw the handwriting on the wall how bad I was at baseball, Bob. But I've said it to people that'll listen. Not only was Bob Patterson the best teammate I ever had on a court or a field, he's the best teammate I've ever had as a friend in life. And I think those are the things that Bobby and I, those experiences we shared, and the bond that we have today is because of those high school experiences we shared with one another. So, both of Bobby and I are big proponents of what high school athletics can do for you, not only athletically, but for your relationships and as a person.
Absolutely.
So, exactly 1 year ago, Bob, you were diagnosed with a rare form of cancer called neuroendocrine tumor. Personally, I can remember the gut punch that I felt when you gave me that news. Thinking back a year ago, how were you able to, both you and your wife Kelly, able to pick yourself up after receiving that kind of news, and find the mindset that you have every day of just moving forward and keep moving forward?
So July 5th will be year to date, which is 2 days here, correct?
Yeah.
Was the day I found out. It's the most devastating thing that's ever happened to me and most people when they hear that word. When you get that phone call from your doctor, I went in and had an ultrasound, and thinking it was just whatever, not thinking that, cancer. And my phone was blown up within 2 hours, and the doctor said, are you? First thing she said to me is my family doctor. When she got the test results, she goes, "Are you sitting down?" And when you hear that, and she goes, "I wish I had better news for you. You have a large mass," and went into it. My mind goes blank. And good thing I was home, because I called Kelly out. I said, I yelled for her. I said, "Come out," and I put the phone on speaker, and she's the best. She's the rock, and I'll talk about her in a little bit. But she, was talking to the doctor. We're all on speaker. I'm listening to this. And you go to that dark place. So as I'm hearing all this, and then you hang up the phone, and then you go to a place, that's tough. I called it. It was a dark place. It was hard. Obviously, nobody wants to hear this. Nobody signs up for this. Nobody has a playbook for this. Nobody can watch film on this, right? So now it's, what do I do? And it took me a while to tell people, actually. I was embarrassed. I didn't want to tell people. I thought I could handle this with me and my family. Not the case. Not the case. We told my immediate family. Actually, a few weeks after we told them. And it was hard. Obviously, it was very hard. And they're my family. They're my rock. So my mom, my dad, my brother, my sister, my nieces, everybody, they're all there for me. But it was hard for me, to tell other people. It took me a while to tell my work. I'll never forget the day I told my work. I told my principal, Diana, and I sat down with her and cried together. I told her, and she was just open arms. She's just like, whatever you need, I'm here for you. I'll do whatever it takes. You go to whatever appointments you need. I'm here for you. So that helped. And then we told the other people at Notre Dame, and just the same reaction. They were just with open arms, just loving a family, what a family would do. And then it came time to telling my group of friends, right? My brothers, that I call them. So I put in a group text, and I didn't want to call everyone individual. It would have taken way too long. So I put in a group text, and then of course my phone started blowing up, and it was hard, and people encouraged me that you got to tell your friends. And And again, I was like, it's hard, but I did it. I told you guys. And the one thing that I do remember, everybody was very supportive again, with this and whatever I needed. But I came home from practice and the first phone call I got was from Mike. And we sat, we talked, we cried together. We cried together. I knew everybody was there for me from the start. I knew Mike has been walking with me through this nightmare, through this journey from day one. From that phone conversation on, he's been side by side with me through this whole thing. And I can't thank him enough just being by my side with this, through everything, because you have to surround yourself with people with this. You have to surround yourself with a team. It's like anything like a team. We talk about this is a sports pocket. You got to surround yourself with people, with coaches, teammates, that will help you, that will pick you up in time of need. There's other days I've called Mike crying, where I've needed him, where he's got my back, and other friends as well, and my family, and you need that. You got to surround yourself with people with this.
And one of the things, Jim, you've known Bobby as long as I have, right? Our childhood. When I found out that it didn't even cross my mind to do anything other than want to be there for my best friend, right? Like, because we all know Bobby. We've known Bobby a long time, and there isn't anybody. I've often said that if somebody tells you they don't like Bobby Patterson, something's wrong with them, not him.
We're not talking to that person anymore.
Yeah. There's something wrong with them. Everybody knows that Bobby, if the roles were reversed, would have done the same thing for anybody. Giving you the shirt off his back.
You are still. I talked about your high school days, and how you inspired me, and some of the things how hard you worked, and you continue right now with just hearing that inspire me and motivate me. And I would imagine you go to those athletic experiences, right? And the competition and getting prepared and the mental toughness. Can you talk about that? It had to have helped you, right? Competing in those sports and coaching at the high level that you have. This athletics help support you.
Absolutely. So again, I'll talk, two things, that I was taught growing up was you pick yourself back up. You're going to get knocked down. It's if you get back up. You got to get back up. You got to dust yourself off, and you got to face the music. You got to face it head on. And, I talked to Mike's team back in December for the ball and for Bobby. And I told the team, I said, this is, life challenges. I have a life challenge in front of me, and I accept it. You're going to go through life challenges in life. What's going to be your challenge? And at that time, it was the game, and this is your challenge tonight. And it was just a game, but I tried to connect it. Life challenges is this is life. Like I said earlier, they don't give you a playbook for this. They don't give you, you have to face this head on. You have to dust yourself off. You have to surround yourself with people, with love, family, friends, and you got to take it one day at a time. And there's nothing wrong with the word hope. Hope's a great word. We talk about in sports. I hope we win tonight. I hope I score the winning shot. I hope I kick the winning field goal. I hope I make it to the next day. And say that joke, but you do. You get to that next day. You get to the next day. With this, and then feel good and make sure you're with people.
You're the man.
Thanks, Coach.
No, he's still my best friend. Let's not, give him too much credit here. I mean,
we're not going there, are we? With some of the other stuff,
yeah,
I got a little nostalgic.
Yeah,
we don't want to get too nostalgic.
We need more than an hour here.
Yeah,
we need more than an hour here.
It's starting to make me itch or something that we're being so nice to each other here. I got to start, telling some real stories.
Oh, yeah.
So, Bobby, it has been well documented, that you fought me on doing anything public, fundraiser-wise for you and your family. And again, I just wanted to facilitate and help your family out as much as I could. We both know, and Jim knows, everybody on this podcast knows that I can be like a bad rash, right? Like I might go away for a little bit, but I'm going to flare up at some point until you finally just say yes. That said, there's been a good amount of money raised for your fight against cancer for you and your family. It proves to me and to everybody that knows you how loved and admired you are at both Cardinal Mooney and the Notre Dame communities. What is the outpouring of support from both communities meant to you and your family?
Well, first of all, let's go back to I know you will not quit. You will not quit. You will be on me. You know, yes. At first, I didn't want this. I didn't. I was like, I didn't want the attention. I didn't want to get out there and all that stuff. And you were like a rash. You were on me constantly, and you wanted to do something. And I felt the love and I felt the support. So I went with it. But that and so how this all started, right? You put it out there, and then Coach Martelli, right? Coach
Yeah.
Martelli got a hold of this through Kevin, right? And you can explain more.
Fine, we can do a fundraiser. Fine, we can do a fundraiser at Mooney, but I don't want it on social media anywhere. Just kind of the people that know me, you can text it to them. I said I want to do this Ballin' for Bobby event where all the proceeds will go to Bobby and his family. Well, our nephew Kevin, who's worked at Michigan and was friends with Coach Martelli, sent him the flyer, and the next thing I know, the flyer's on Twitter, Instagram, everywhere from Coach Martelli saying everybody pitch in and help. I called Bobby and I'm like, I hate to do this to you, but it's out there, and we need to go to start a GoFundMe like
You're
yesterday.
trending.
Yes.
Yeah, it's kind of how it went.
He's like, it's out there, bro. I can't do nothing about it now. And
So
it went out
that's
to the fraternity, everybody. But getting back, so then it blew up, right? Blew up, and so the outpour of support and love through both Cardinal Mooney and Notre Dame was unbelievable. Unbelievable what I saw. I just, Kelly and I were like, we couldn't believe it. That I couldn't believe it. Well, that that many people, cared about me or whatnot. I mean, there's some people, it's that I'm not sure who donated, but there's some people I'm not sure who I hate to say, like, I don't recognize them, that have a hold of this story. And I thank those people tremendously through the bottom of my heart. But the other people that, that supported this is just, the outpour was unbelievable. And it just kept coming and coming. And we were like, nope, we're going to keep going. Mike, kept pushing.
I wouldn't put the brakes on it. Kelly wanted to stop. Yep. Kelly wanted to stop at one point, and I'm like, sorry, I'm not sorry, but we're going to keep the train rolling.
And, at first it was like, oh boy. And it was like I said earlier, it was like, accept it, accept the love, accept the support, accept the teammates,
yep.
Right? That's what you got to
awesome.
do. That's what you got to do. There's nothing I could do. There was nothing I could do.
It blew up, which leads me into my next thing. You've had guys and coaches, reach out to you from the Greg Campies. We talked about their Martellis, their Phil Martelli, Dick Vitale, Lou Holtz, Mike Krzyzewski reaching out to you. It's not just, it's because of Bobby Patterson and the word you're spreading. But hearing from those coaches and those guys at that highest level, and those personal messages of encouragement, has it helped you, I assume, through some of the tough days?
Unbelievable. It takes you to a different level. You're down here.
You hear from a Mike Krzyzewski or a Lou Holtz.
Boom. And, Mike said this story before when, I had treatment that morning, early afternoon, and I got the message from Coach K. And I was feeling crappy that morning, and Mike could hear it in my voice. And then I got the message from Coach K, and it went from here to here. Like, let's go. Like, let's do this. Let's fight this. Let's keep fighting this. That's what you do every day. Again, dust yourself off and let's go. Coach Campy, Coach Martelli, all of them is unbelievable. And if they're out there listening, I thank you and from the bottom of my heart. And those words of encouragement can do a lot from those people, like you said, Coach.
And it's because of who you are as well. So don't sell yourself short. You're a good leader of young men.
Thank you. Thanks.
So I know we covered this a little bit, Bobby, but talk to me about your family. I've seen firsthand since we were teenagers the amazing support system you have in your family, in your extended family, your parents. You've talked about your parents, your brother, your sister. Specifically, talk to me about your wife, Kelly, your kids, Avery, Millie, and Jack, and not only how they've supported you, but how they motivate you every day to continue to get up and fight.
Absolutely, like you just said, they motivate me. When this first started, first got word, I talked about those dark places. One of them was like getting out of bed in the morning. It's how do you get out? How do you do this? And there's three individuals in my life you get out of bed for, and that's Avery, Millie, and Jack. Number one, first and foremost, and they're my number one, and to get out of bed and to be with them and to fight this, again, you're not alone, but they're my children. You guys know you do anything for your kids, and I hope to instill that your kids would do anything for you, and they're there for me all the time. They're little, they know and they get it, but they're still kids at the same time, which was what I want them to be. I want them to be kids, have a great summer. I don't want them to worry about dad so much. I battle through things, on some days if I don't feel so good, I battle through and I'm with them, I battle through them and it's just what I do, Kelly's my rock. She's my rock. She's everything to me. Like I said, from day one, you get the phone call and I yelled for her and she's right there by my side, kind of like Mike, but she's the rock. She's what holds it together. She comes to all my appointments and she writes everything down. You got to have somebody like that in a situation like this. You got to have a teammate like that will go to all your appointments, that will, take phone calls for you when you're not thinking straight. And in this, sometimes you're just not thinking straight, and she writes everything down, and the doctors love her because she's that note taker, right? Asking a lot of questions. She asks a lot of questions, takes me to all my appointments, and just she's the best wife I could ever ask for. She's awesome. She's there for me. I know she's the first person I go to, in time of need or whatever. And I love her to death, and I thank her tremendously for everything she's done for me from the bottom of my heart. And then my family, and then of course my parents. My parents, are they're your parents. They'll do anything for you, right? Just like we do anything for our kids. It was hard for them at first. They're 81 years old. They don't want me to go before them. You hear that. But my sister, my brother, they're great. It's that family support, the love, the checking in every day. Whatever I can do for you. My brother's taking me to treatments. Mike's taking me to treatments. It helps. It truly helps when you have that, and they're your family, so they'll do anything for you. Like you said, I do the same for them.
Yeah. And for me, I know personally, like not all of us are as fortunate as Jim and I and you are to have the foundation of family that we have. I personally view your parents as a second set of parents for me growing up. So I've seen firsthand the love, the care, the discipline that they have for their children. And, I know where Bob gets his toughness from, and it is, two people who reside on Cedarama, if I remember correctly, right? It speaks volumes to me, Bob, that, we become a version of our own parents and what they instilled in us. And knowing your parents, I know how proud they are of you and the fight that you have every single day.
I could say the same. I'd say the same thing about you guys. The McAndrews family. You're my second family.
Thank you.
Really. All you guys. Love all you guys. I appreciate everything.
Everybody except him.
I was going to give you a nice little compliment. On a lighter note, when going back to your high school days, you said you weren't the biggest, the fastest, and all that. But Kelly, you really reminds me of a little Rudy. You did quite overachieve there with Kelly. Yeah.
Yeah, you did.
Yes,
to put
I
it
did.
in to
Yeah.
put it in
Yep.
to put it in
Yeah.
football terms,
Yeah.
you outkicked your coverage, my friend.
Yep. Coverage. Definitely. I
All
can.
right, so everybody has followed along on my updates that I try and give them on your fight over the last year. But let's hear from you. Tell everybody how is Bob Patterson doing today? Where are you at in your fight? Like, what's your treatment look like? How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. Pretty good so far. So I'm on the med. Cabalmedics is what it's called right now. I take it back. So I was doing the oral pills back in early fall. That wasn't helping. Kind of felt worse. Then we went to injections. Wasn't shrinking, with the tumor, and again, I wasn't feeling good with that. So they said we're gonna go to this next thing, and that's a great thing. There's a lot of things out there, believe it or not. There's a lot of medicine out there. So said, okay, we're gonna put you on this, and it just went on the market pretty much when I started taking it back in March. It's actually a med to help specifically for neuroendocrine. And so when I started taking it, I started feeling good. Different signs, were just energy level. We're just gotten better. I was starting to put weight back on. My appetite was great. And I just went for a checkup probably about a month and a half ago, and I did a scan, and there was a little bit of shrinkage, not a ton, but a little bit. We'll take it, right? We're gonna take it. And so they said we're gonna keep you on this. It seems to be the right path. We're gonna do another scan in August. You seem to be doing well with it. And yes, I have. So we're just gonna keep doing what we're doing right now. Nothing's really spread. Nothing is spread right now, which is another great thing. And then we'll get another scan in August and see where we're at. And as of now, I've been feeling really good of what I've been doing.
Good news, Bob.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is.
So,
God is good, and prayers are working, and
I want to thank everybody. I'm out here. Thank everybody just for the prayers. Prayer is strong too. Through social media, what you've been sending me and what you've been saying, and I just I want to thank everybody out there for everything, for all your thoughts and all your prayers. But
Yeah,
I've been
like
feeling
this.
pretty good. I've been feeling good. I've been feeling good and able to do things. We just came back from a trip on the west side, family trip, Michigan's Adventure. So I trucked through the park there 2 days ago, closed the park down. So yeah, it was warm, but and that's another thing with Kelly. She's and Mike as well out there. He's like, don't do too much, don't overdo it, don't. But coach, you know
Yeah.
me, like that's what I'm talking about. I like to push myself. I like to go 110%. Like to be tough.
You are.
So, but I got to know my limits. You got
Yep.
to know your limits. So, but I've been doing well.
So Jim, I will tell you, I'll share one story with you of how hard-headed Bobby is and how he always wants to.
Are you nervous
do
right
things
now,
for
Bob?
himself, so.
Are you nervous?
No. So Bob and I,
Which story is it going to be?
Bob and I get tickets from Will Cheddar to his personal seats to the Michigan Purdue game. Okay, Kevin was going to get us all access, with the team, the locker room, pregame, all of that. When I called Kevin when we got on campus, the player entrance and the athlete VIP section is being manned by some workers in the parking lot, and Kevin's like, "You can't park there on game day." And Bob's like, "Just turn around, we'll walk. Just turn around, we'll walk. We'll pay, we'll walk. I don't care how far it is." I go, no, Bob. We're gonna make cancer work for us today. We pull in. The guy's like, "You can't park here." I'm like, "Kevin, this guy's nephew is the head manager here, and it's his nephew, and he's got cancer and can't walk, and he told us to park here because he's going through treatment and he's a VIP guest today." He's like, "Fine, just go ahead." And we literally pull in right next to Dusty's spot and park right at the Player Development Center. So
walked right in.
Yeah, walked right in. So I said to Bob, you've been working on cancer for a long time. We're going to make
Awesome.
cancer work
Yep.
for us today.
Yeah. Yep. Thank you.
So, Bob, I personally, both Jim and I want to thank you for taking the time to come on today. This will, as I said in the open, will easily be my favorite guest and segment that we ever do on this podcast. I can't tell you how much you mean to me, how much your family means to me. I can't begin to tell you what an inspiration you are to not only to me, but to the hundreds and hundreds of people that have seen your story and have been inspired by, your faith, your hope, and your courage to fight every single day. I said it earlier, and I mean it wholeheartedly. I don't take it lightly. You're my hero.
Thank
You're my
you.
hero every day. Every time I go through something on a personal level, I go, what would Bob do? He's tougher than this. He's tougher than this. You can deal with it because he's tougher than this. Be a little more like Bobby today. So I want to thank you for taking the time to come on.
Thanks.
I love you. We love you. The McAndrews love you. We appreciate you sharing your story with our
Bobby,
listeners.
Yeah, thank you. You're a tremendous leader, Oakland Catholic. I mean, Notre Dame prep should be grateful to have you, lucky to have you. Coaching wise, you're a great dad, great friend, obviously, to Michael, and a great man. I appreciate you. Appreciate you in my life.
Well, I thank you. Coach, start with you. Thank you for everything you've taught me. And, again,
you teach me
I hold
now.
in my back pocket. Taught me. You made me a tougher individual. Mike, I can't thank you enough, and I need you every day by my side through this. It helps. It really does help me. And your texts, your motivational text messages you'll send me, your phone calls, our conversation. Sometimes we don't even talk about my situation. We just talk about old times and we laugh and that's truly helpful, right? Laughter is big, and that truly helps. And Mike, I can't thank you enough for everything you have done for me and my family through this journey, and as well as the rest of your family. I love you,
Bob.
guys.
Thanks for sharing your story, man. Thank you.
Yeah, can we say something like mean to each other, because I'm getting really uncomfortable with all the nice things we've said about all the nice things we've said about each other in the last hour.
Right. Yeah, buddies, they rip on each other, and I'm gonna see you probably in a few days at some point. So
yeah, for sure. We'll see you this weekend.
Yeah.
So Bob, thanks again for joining us. Enjoy your 4th of July holiday with your family. Go ahead.
One more thing I got to say, Coach. I don't know if you knew this, but I know Mike knows this. I play a little pickup ball on Wednesday nights from November to April. Good mix of 20-year-olds to guys in their 60s. And I bring a lot of my Mooney stuff with me. So a lot of guys are like, why is Bobby growling when he's going for the ball?
I remember that drill.
I'm like,
I remember it.
Ball,
I remember it.
Awesome. You're like, what's he talking about?
I do. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, feel free to stop doing that kind of stuff anytime now, Bobby, too.
We're going to the whole strong, man.
If I don't already look bad to my wife for not doing stuff, and now I got to be like, hey, Bobby Patterson's going through cancer treatment. He's still playing basketball.
He's probably playing defense too, pissing all them guys off.
Oh yeah. I'm going
taking charges.
I'm setting screens. Oh yeah. But exercising still. I'm still exercising. Time to time. Usually so. But yeah, I thought you'd get a kick out of that. Yeah. You guys are more than welcome to come play with me. Anytime.
We're going to edit that out. Yeah, we're editing that out.
Thanks, Bob.
Awesome.
Bob, thanks again, man. Thanks again. We love you, and continue to pray for you every single day. We know you're going to beat this thing, and you have been a true inspiration to not only to the McAndrews family, but to everybody that you come in contact with. Love you, buddy.
Thank you. Love you guys. Thanks.
All right.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
All right. Take care. Well, Jim, what an episode that was, and what an inspiration Bobby Patterson is.
He really is an inspiration, and I meant it when I said it. He inspires me every day. So we're lucky to have him in our lives.
Yeah, and as I said earlier, and I said a couple times on the podcast, that will be my all-time favorite guest we ever have. He is an inspiration. Not only is he an inspiration with what he's going through fighting cancer, but he is and has been for 35 years one of the best guys I know. He has had my back Every time I've been down, he's been there to pick me up. When Dad died, he was the first person that called me. So we're fortunate to have Bobby.
We are.
A year later, he looks great from where he was a year ago. His mindset is unbelievable. And I know that our listeners, not if you have an athletic background or don't have an athletic background and just want to be inspired about life, I know our viewers can pull so much from that episode and what Bobby Patterson does to live his life every single day.
I agree. That's what I was going to say. Hopefully somebody get that diagnosed can get some inspiration from Bobby.
Yeah. So we're heading into 4th of July weekend. I know we both have some plans. We'll see you guys this weekend.
Going to see you. Yep.
Yeah. Looking forward to spending some time with the family and the nieces and the nephews. Other than that, any other plans for you guys this weekend?
That's it. All good. Seeing all you guys.
Yep.
Spending time with the family.
For Jim McAndrews, my name is Mike McAndrews. I am one of your co-hosts. We wish everybody a happy 4th of July, and we look forward to bringing you a new guest next week, which we've already booked. Will be head coach at Western Michigan University, Dwayne Stevens, will be joining us on the podcast next week that we're really excited about. So look out for that podcast as well. That'll be coming up next week. But we hope you all have a safe and happy 4th of July, and thanks again for joining us.
We want to clean the paint. We're going to call hand checking and body checking, and sportsmanship is an absolute must, okay?
He lets it fly.